about what would happen or what discussion and what movement is being made about getting rid of that? Because I know a lot of people actually are it's very important to them to stay in New York State, to have that state tax, property tax deductibility.
Well, certainly the last thing I want to see is taxes increased in any way on our state of New York. So I would not be enthusiastic about eliminating that deductibility. We have a lot of work to do together in our tax code. Right now it is obviously very complex, but we're working within the context we're given. So as a matter of fact, I've actually introduced legislation, the Commuter Savings Act, to help provide, I'm sure you have clients, family members who commute using mass transit to New York City. I've introduced a bill to help them have a bigger tax credit every month, because right now they don't have an equal tax credit to drivers, and I don't think that's fair. So I'm doing all I can to provide the kind of relief that we can in a down economy and to help people along. So I certainly don't want to see an effective increase in taxes on the very hardworking New Yorkers.
So I don't know any way to answer that except the way Bill Clinton did, which is the problem is just arithmetic, right? I would not touch the property tax deduction for a minute. But here's the problem. If you support the Ryan budget the way my opponent does, and you give $5 trillion in tax cuts to folks at the very top, and you say in the budget, which she voted for twice, respectfully, that the way you're going to pay for it is by eliminating deductions. That's how they're going to pay for it, by eliminating deductions. There's only so many places you can go. Now, they won't tell you which ones, right? You didn't hear it today. I'd be happy to hear what deductions the Congresswoman would support eliminating, because she said she won't support eliminating mortgage interest deduction. Well, watch your wallet, because that's the biggest one. And the property tax one is right behind it. So if you're not going to do either one of those, well, where are you going to get it? Because I'll tell you what, here's the math, folks. If you give $5 trillion in tax cuts for people who already got them and don't need them, if that's where you start, and then you're going to try to do all those cuts, and Medicare as we know it, block grant Medicaid back to the states, cut food stamps, defund Planned Parenthood, which my opponent wants to do, eliminate funding for Title X and women's health services. All those cuts, all those sacrifices, you know what you get to? You get to about 1.7 trillion. We already took 5 out, right? And the only way you do that math is if you eliminate all the major deductions that have built the middle class, that have supported your industry. That's just the math. That is just the math, and that is the choice in this election. So talk is cheap. My friends in the Republican Congress, if you think it's working well, by the way, you got another choice. But if my friends in the Republican Congress, starting with Congresswoman Hayworth, want to tell us what deductions they are going to eliminate to pay for Paul Ryan's tax cuts, then I'm all ears. Because the math just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up. We got to get serious about this. This is a whole industry we're talking about. This is a whole pillar of middle class that has been working for a century. And if we are going to engage in this kind of radical social engineering, David Stockman, remember him, Ronald Reagan's budget director. Ronald Reagan's budget director wrote an article in the New York Times. He said, if you pass the Ryan budget that the Congresswoman has voted for twice, you must end the mortgage interest tax deduction. It is the same thing. You cannot support one without supporting the other. That is the hard facts. And so that is the choice in this election. We can do better than that. We have done better than that. I know it's not the 90s, but we should do what works. And what works is what has worked. What works is putting people first. And what works is asking everybody to pay their fair share. And what works is investing in education and infrastructure and job creation. What works is not running down working people and going after collective bargaining. What works is supporting the middle class every way we can. Because without the middle class doing well, none of you are going to do well. Without those folks calling you on the phone, driving in the driveway with their kids, looking for a house because they can afford it, right? This industry is never going to be back where it was. And that's what I want to do. I want to do what works. And I am not going to be a prisoner to any one ideology. The Tea Party and Congresswoman Hayworth have had their chance. They have not succeeded. Congress is broken. We can do better. And where it starts is by putting aside rigid ideologies and doing what works, and listening to other people, and compromising where we've got to compromise, and moving forward. We've seen it before, we can do it again. But I need your help. Thank you.
Okay, that's actually going to conclude our program, except I would like to give both of the candidates, if they want, sort of a last word, a summation. I don't know whether or not you'd each like to do that or not. Would you?
Well, thank you all very much. Listen, I appreciate and respect the Congresswoman sharing the table with me and answering your questions. And again, since she does have an opportunity to speak, I guess I would love the answer to the question we just talked about, which is what deductions we are going to eliminate to balance the numbers in the Ryan budget. But this election is about more than just that, right? This election is about more than numbers. It's about our values. It's about what kind of country we are. We're at a crossroads. I think it's the most important election I can remember. And I've never seen, in 25 years of working in the public sector and growing jobs in the private sector, I've never seen a time when there was a group in Washington that was so extreme, so conservative, that their priorities were to attack in every way they can think of the stuff that has been supporting the middle class for generations. Things like the mortgage interest deduction, things like Pell Grants for kids going to college. You know, the Ryan budget cuts $11 billion out of veterans programs, cuts food stamps, block grants Medicaid back to the states, to take away prescription drug coverage for seniors and reopen that donut hole. Would kick kids with pre-existing conditions off their health insurance because it repealed the reforms. We're going to make sacrifices. We're going to ask sacrifices of every middle-class family in America and all of you, and yet we're not going to ask anything of the people at the very top. That's the plan they're putting before the country. And the only way that makes sense is if you believe in this rigid Tea Party ideology that says that there's a super class of people called job creators at the very top, and all the benefits must flow to them, and somehow that'll help all of us. And I just don't believe that. I don't think there's any historical evidence to support that. And I know it's not the country I grew up in, and I know it's not the country I want to live in. I want to live in a country that looks like the one where everybody's working together, where we've got a thing called citizenship that the president talked about the other night, where we believe in each other. We've got a thing called community, where we're going to do things like expand marriage equality opportunity, which we didn't talk about today, but which I think is very important. And I helped to write that law in New York. We've got to come together as a country, and we cannot keep fighting with one another, and we cannot keep worshiping at the altar of some extreme ideology that the Tea Party or anybody else has, because that's just not going to work. What works is cooperation. What works is listening. What works is solutions. And I've spent my whole career creating jobs in the private sector and creating programs and policies that work in the public sector. And we've got a record, not rhetoric. If you think things are going better now than they went in a Clinton administration, then you just have a different view of the world I do. And these are choices we're going to make. And the biggest choice we're going to make is who we send to Washington, and who's going to carry our voice and our values to Washington. So the choice in this election is between the Tea Party Republican, who wants to keep going with that Tea Party ideology, or someone like me, a Bill Clinton Democrat, who says we can do better, and we can work together. And with your help, I think we can do better. So I'm asking for your vote, and I appreciate your attention today. Thank you very much.
And you know, I appreciate, and I do, I appreciate the sentiment about cooperation. I've lived cooperation. And I appreciate the sentiment about community too. I think it's very important. That's why only one of us has actually lived here in the Hudson Valley for any particular length of time. That's me, and that's more than 2 decades. I've put my roots here. So has my husband. We have built a business here. I grew my own practice from scratch. I hung a shingle in 1989. I took a chance on that, and I worked doggedly at making sure that it would thrive. I cared deeply about my patients. I still do. I see them on the trail. I miss them, and they miss me. That's very gratifying. I've raised 2 sons here. They were born right here in Mount Kisco. And I want to see them have the kind of opportunities that my parents dreamed of for me and worked very hard for. My parents came from nothing. My mother grew up, Charles Dickens almost could have written her life story in England. Her father had PTSD, essentially, after World War I. She grew up without a father. And she, despite that, believed deeply, still does, she's 91, in work and responsibility, the dignity of doing what we can to provide for our families and to be charitable. And my parents raised me to cherish that wonder of this country, that we were founded to respect the work you do. When we talk about job creators, when Mr. Maloney talks about job creators at the top, you're the job creators. You are the people I care about and the people you serve. I want to see you grow. I want to see people have the opportunity in a vigorous economy to make things happen. That only happens when we have a government that understands that it cannot keep taking and taking and taking from you. And right now, we all know what the past 4 years have brought us. And they have brought us not nearly what we need in terms of jobs, in terms of growth, in terms of opportunity. I'm on the trail in the Hudson Valley every day. I've been throughout this Hudson Valley every day for the past 3 years, and it's wonderful to do it. But what people tell me is, Nan, we have got to change course. It's got to start at the top. They do feel that this presidential election is important, and that's what I'm hearing, that they want to see more of what in the House we've tried to do for them and work to do for them, and I as their representative have tried to do for them. There is a lot of gridlock in Washington, but I assure you, in the House of Representatives, people like me are working across the aisle. I want to do that. We need to do that. I work with Governor Cuomo. He's a Democrat. He gets it. And I get it too. We need to grow right here at home, and we need to do it in ways that are smart, not throwing money at everything that everybody in Washington thinks might be a good idea. But what's really smart is to make sure that we do respect our working class, our middle class, the people who make this country grow, our entrepreneurs. And by the way, when they talk about taxing the rich, they're talking about you. Because it doesn't take much in New York Metro for you to be considered wealthy. I mean, a lot of folks here, their combined incomes, we have, we still have, relative to the rest of the country, we still have pretty decent incomes here. You are going to be taxed more than you already are now. Does that make sense? Are you doing something wrong that you need Washington to take more from you? No. And it won't help us. That's the problem. Mr. Maloney doesn't have a plan for you except to continue things the way they are. And I certainly am not hostage to any ideology. I am only here to make sure that we do the right things for you and for the people you care about and for your future, and that we respect the work you do and let you do it to the best of your ability with a federal government that serves you, doesn't burden you, doesn't smother you, doesn't crush what you're working so hard to build. And I want to continue to do that with you, and I'm confident that together we will make this a much better and more vibrant Hudson Valley. That's what you work at every day. You make home. I want to help you make home for more and more people, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
While these two candidates definitely gave us a clear choice come November,